and gentlemen, welcome to ENDGAME with your hosts, Nomono, Poplopo, and guest starring Darren.
Welcome to ENDGAME, where we usually are talking about the end of humanity, whether it be good or bad, exciting or depressing. Darren's up this week because, Darren, you're the community spotlight. How do you feel things are going to go in the future? What do you think is going to happen?
I think things are going to get worse. I think we're going to see economies collapse, privacy disappear almost entirely. With the way net neutrality is going, we're going to have we're going to be paying for a lot more things. Internet's not going to be anywhere like it is today in the next 20 years. It's all going to change up. I think mostly it's going to be bad compared to what we have now.
Yeah, then what?
You mean even further in the future?
Yeah, we got it. Until it gets positive, you better keep going.
All right, so imagine 100 years it will be better to an extent. How much better, I don't know. I can't imagine it being too much different than we have now. Technology kind of seems to be slowing down on the large scale anyway. We went from driving cars to flying planes to being in space in a very short period of time, but it's kind of dwindled out a little bit. If with quantum computing, it could boost us right back up there again.
Is there anything you're looking forward to?
I mean, I guess increases in VR, that'd be cool. I don't have super high hopes for a future. Faster internet, fiber optic cable being universal, everyone gets that. That'd be nice. But I'm not looking forward to too much. We're there.
We're all just going to abandon the world and live in virtual reality. Is that sort of your forecast?
Well, with the economy's collapsing and what's that one book where they're burning all the books and no one leaves their house? All they do is sit around and watch TV.
Fahrenheit 451.
Fahrenheit 451. I think we're very realistically heading to a future like that. And if you think about it, a lot of people are already doing it. The Japanese has that subculture that they don't leave their room. They work from home, they live at home, and all they do is play video games. I mean, it's social aspect, real world social aspect is dying off. Everything's online.
Well, I know how we're going to try and solve a lot of these problems, and you're going to help us. And it's by doing squats. So if you could just run us through 10 squats for the future,
well, I think
we can move on.
Squats can do a lot to solve the future. And if you guys noticed, before we left, Double Goose was put to shame pretty severely by my squat abilities.
You terminated the fight, dude. You just left. It was forfeit.
No announced the victory.
Oh, Darren's getting faster. I think that means he's going to win by default.
It's my ping. I'm on 12.
14. Double time.
Interested in some burn? I'm doing it in my sleep.
All right, we got it. Opla bro, we got the portal.
Actually tries to like.
What's that?
All right, Darren wins. Let's go. Darren wins. Let's go. Darren wins. Let's go. Darren wins. Let's go. Darren wins. Let's go.
Haven't seen you
This
there.
is not optional. If we're gonna solve things, it has to be mandatory. Here we go.
Put your arms straight out in front of you. Remember, this is for the future. This isn't for the present. You're working for the future. You ain't gonna get a plump booty overnight. You guys ready? On the count of 3, we're gonna do 10 squats. 1, 2, 3. Squat. Squat. Squat.
Not squatting.
Squat.
Doesn't work.
I think we're on 5. 6.
Even the desktop users squat.
9. 10. You guys, you've worked towards your future just a little bit. Doing the mock. Maybe you tried.
Well, okay, that's a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
When is your squat day?
Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
How many squats did you do last time?
We did too many. VR Pill was actually injured for, I think, 4. Is he in here 4 days? I think it was the YMCA. It was 400 squats.
Yeah, roughly that many days, yeah. Still.
But he had enough time to recover, so he could do it again.
Yeah, we're going to get him doing YMCA squats right off the bat.
Hey, Snail, do you have a comment?
Yeah. So one of the things that you brought up was that we sort of did, horse to vehicles to flight to space sort of immediately, and then we haven't seen anything really since. And I think that that's sort of because all of those are physical progressions, and the next real physical progression is going to be like comparable to speed of light sorts of things, which admittedly is pretty far off. But the things that I do see that we are making sort of the the continued exponential growth is definitely in machine intelligence. So you start seeing things like Watson doing better diagnosis than any humans possible and able to learn things faster than any humans possible. And then you see AlphaGo beating people who have studied this game for their entire life, just time and time again, to the point that now people are studying our tools to learn from. And then we've started getting things where there's like Alexa, Google Home, things like these are starting to integrate to the point that I fully expect that in the future, it will be kind of weird when your computers don't know you better than you know yourself. When your alarm clock doesn't wake you up, you go, what's wrong with my alarm clock? Not, I forgot to set it. And I think that's where we're going to continue seeing the exponential growth. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, I believe it. I'm much more down that avenue. We don't need cars. Where we're going, we don't need cars.
That growth comes with its own problems, though. Because once you have that growth and you have computers and AI taking over everything, including jobs that you don't think would ever be taken over, in the current economy you live in, the way our country's set up, a universal basic income, which is what you would need in a situation where there are no jobs, isn't feasible here. Our entire way of life is based around the dollar, based around making money. That's the entire world.
I feel like we have to do a whole show about that because, like, I've heard a couple of people like be kind of negative and go like it's not possible. Man, I think it is possible, and it might be sooner than you think.
Here's the thing: society has changed before. You know, the entire structure of how society works has changed several times over, and you know, before it changed, we couldn't predict where it was going to go. Previously.
You're going to see. You're going to see.
It has to be drastic change. Something would have. They'd have to force out the big wigs.
Have you not noticed how connected the world is now? Like, this is like extraordinary. Look where you're standing right now, bro. Look at this. This is insane.
I don't know where I'm standing.
That's the
I'm
point.
standing
it's
in
an entirely synthetic, imaginary reality.
30 different places at once.
Yeah,
we went from like horses to cars to train to planes, and now you're in another dimension. Telepathy. Consider that. Look how far you've traveled.
But I think we have barriers that are going to be really hard to get past.
I don't. You're being too negative. Get out of here. Sit down. All right, thank you, Darren. I don't know how to get. You can't get out that way.
Just step off the stage.
I'm just going to talk about the point that Snail brought up before about technology taking over and stuff. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard a bunch of the top scientists signed a document to prevent AI from taking over our lives. I don't know if that's true. I heard Stephen Hawking.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, though.
People are like very cautious. Like Stephen Hawking has like said a couple of things, and Musk, and like people are worried because it is going to become so powerful. But that doesn't mean we're not going to do it. I think it's like sort of inevitable. It's not going to be that. I don't think it's far off. I think it's like it's coming up on us, man, in like the decades to come. So that's exciting. I don't know why Darren's so bummed out.
I'm pretty sure Elon Musk had something to say about it too recently. He said that it'll be here by 2030 or something. He said.
That's like next week.
Exactly. I don't.
No, I'd have to say I'm actually kind of excited about AI, especially in terms of finding ways to govern and regulate AI as we move forward so they don't get out of hand. And I feel like programmable financial systems are going to be very similar to the way we govern and manage people. And you could take programmable currencies and APIs, very similar to the ones that are some companies already have out. And they actually have an API call that robotic entity of any kind would be required to actually call upon and actually pay money or receive money depending on what the situation is. And that's very similar to the way we manage people, is we use money to really regulate their consumption habits and their ability to move through society and all kinds of things. It's just a way to manage things. And I think programmable currencies and monetary systems and smart contracts are going to be a way to help not only monetize it, but put them into jobs that kind of regulate them.
Are you able to sort of process what that's going to look like? Like I'm still confused. What's the other Bitcoin, the other cryptocurrency that I think is more programmable?
Ethereum, right?
Ethereum.
And like I've heard, like that sounds really exciting, but it's so foreign to me. Like that idea of our currency being like programmed in or something. Like I don't.
think about it, though, I'm not talking about it being your currency. I'm talking about it being a currency to regulate exponential technologies like AI. If you connected them all with some type of system to where they were required to transact to do a lot of things, they would be required to like generate value to actually go forth and do things. And if they ran out of value generation, which could be a very easy way to program that and say, well, you can't actually pull this API call unless you're able to do this to pull enough income in to do that. And there's actually a lot of, I think it's 21.co actually is playing with a lot of these ideas to where there's actually machine readable API calls that use Bitcoin as a currency, and that you have to actually use Bitcoin to pull that call.
So let me see if this works a little bit. Nomono, it kind of scales up from different models of ecosystems. So in biology, the ecosystem is managed by the nutrients and the energy that's available, and the organisms all eat each other in order to get the nutrients and the energy available. In the human ecosystem, between humans and businesses and governments, our ecosystem is managed by money. Money is basically abstracted energy, and so by manipulating the energy flow, we can produce different things and structure things in certain ways. And this is taking it, I think, one step further, integrating a machine intelligence that we don't currently understand, but trying to model how it's going to become part of our greater ecosystem.
No, that metaphor makes sense. It's still a lot to process.
It is, but so was email when it first came out, and it hasn't been long since everyone's just using it as a standard thing when people thought, I mean, if you watch news articles about email and internet in the 90s, it's laughable, and it's very similar to what we're hearing about a lot of these concepts now.
What is internet anyway? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
There's going to be lots and lots of new problems to solve, and I feel like we're up to the task. Like, humans are so good at problem solving, and especially now that computer science is such a part of our education and such a part of our society, like we're gonna solve amazing problems, and we're gonna be amazing doing it if we get the chance.
Or like insects, you tear down our hive, we'll build it right back up.
I like that metaphor.
I do, yeah. I relate to it.
All right, thank you very much. We'll actually sort of return a little bit to AI in the second half. But for the first half of the show, we're returning to a subject from a few episodes ago that Rejinx brought up to our attention, the citizen score idea. So I still don't know a lot about this besides what Rejinx was talking about. So what can you tell us?
Okay, so that's basically where I started from, was that we brought it up and kind of talked about the idea, but I don't think people knew many details. So I went web surfing and tried to find out as many details as I could. Some of this is kind of basic information because I didn't know that much about China, but I figure there are probably some others here who don't know that much about it. So the Chinese government, they're a single-party system. So in America, we've got two parties, two major parties, Democrats and Republicans. In China, they have a single party. It's the Chinese Communist Party, and they rule the government, and they want to implement this citizen scoring system. They announced it in 2014, and there's this huge, proposal thing you can read out there. It's really long. They want to have it implemented by 2020, and it's basically this rating system, this credit score, where people and companies will be rated based on their overall trustworthiness. It will include economic information, political information, educational information, basically drawing big data from everywhere that they gather information to give a citizen or a company a score that will then determine what they're able to do. So if you get a good score, you're going to be able to get a government job easily. They're going to be able to join the political party. They're going to be able to travel wherever they want. They're going to be able to get loans to put their kids in good schools, that sort of thing. If you have a bad score, you're not going to be able to buy plane tickets. You're not going to be able to get a loan for a house. You're not going to be able to sell your house. You're not going to be able to get a business loan. You're not going to be able to get any government assistance. And in a socialist country like China, the government runs tons of things. The government decides when you can start a business and what you can produce and that sort of thing.
Okay, so this hasn't happened yet. This is in 3 years?
They basically started rolling it out, and it's going to be fully implemented by 2020 is the idea. They did do a pilot program of this in 2010. They went to one of their counties in Jiangsu province and tried it out. They gathered information on the citizens and gave them a score from A to D, and if they had an A, they could get all those privileges and benefits, and if they had a D, they couldn't do much of anything. It met with a lot of public backlash, but I guess not enough to stop them. They thought it was successful enough to go forward with. And also keep in mind that public backlash is hard to do in China. For example, your citizen score will go down if you criticize the government, which is kind of part of what I wanted to talk about. Is the precedent for this in China is actually pretty extensive. Online behavior is tracked very closely. If you send a message that is criticizing the political party or sending other political messages like that, for instance, you can have your internet account suspended, you can have your social media account suspended, that sort of thing. They already have a sort of credit system where if you get a civil court case and you are supposed to pay a fine or a fee of some kind and you don't pay it, your name becomes publicly available, and the same thing sort of happens where you can't get a loan, you can't buy plane tickets, you can't enroll your kids in good schools. You basically lose the ability to do a lot of things.
I mean, it sounds like a nightmare, and I guess I assumed there'd be a better sales pitch, but they don't really need to sell it.
Yeah, political criticism is really hard to do legally, where they won't shut you down. But the reason they want to do this is because they've got a population of 1.3 billion, and their industry's regulation is not good. It's really, really difficult. There are it's hard to regulate food safety, for instance. So in 2008, there were 300,000 children that got sick. They were poisoned from milk that had been contaminated with toxins, and that happened with baby formula. It's happened with all sorts of different foods. They'll put pesticides in foods, and they'll make fake foods out of different chemicals. So they've made eggs out of paraffin wax, and there's just all sorts of regulatory problems that are basically happening in China that make it really difficult to have a trustworthy source of food, a trustworthy source of medicine, that sort of thing. So this citizen scoring system is kind of in an effort to make everything safer. So that's usually the trade-off, right? Privacy versus safety, freedom versus safety. And in this case, they're feeling we don't have enough safety. It's too easy for people to do the wrong thing and just poison everyone. So we need to implement this so that people who have done that won't have any opportunity to do that in the future, and will instill people with the desire to always behave well no matter what, because they're not going to get away with it otherwise.
It seems like that's such the common road to the dystopia is our reaction to we need more safety, and you keep closing in everything until we're so safe that we're not alive anymore. It's it's very scary.
Yeah, in fiction, for sure, that's explored a lot.
Did they ever say an age at which they start developing the citizen score? So, how in the U.S. it's after 21 you can start drinking, and then after 18 you can start smoking, and all this age stuff. Is there an age on that citizen score as well, where let's say at age 15, after you're developed enough, that's when you start developing your citizen score?
I didn't see anything about an age specifically, but I did see something that said that your grades in school as a kid would contribute to your citizen score. So if you get good grades, you'll that'll help you out.
Life, then, aren't I?
I can agree to the schooling thing. It's just that as a kid, you don't always make the best decisions, and even if you have the best of parents, you still don't make the best decisions. So I mean, at what point do you start saying, okay, hey, at this point in your life, you're supposed to act like an adult, and I know it sounds weird, but your life is monitored. You better act right. If you're with a group of bad people, people who do a lot of drugs, and they've been known for that, then your citizen score decreases as well if you hang out with them a lot. So, I mean, a bad kid can affect the family, and then that family can affect, everybody else. And it just turns into a big pile up.
I think that's what they want, though, is for everyone to be responsible to everyone else. And if there's someone who's breaking the rules, even if they're young, they're out because they're not obeying society's rules. And presumably they'll create a more harmonized society if everyone cooperates with this.
One that also create a single-minded, like drone-like society where you can only do this, and if you do anything else other than this, then you get kicked out, or you get such a bad citizen score that you can't do anything else.
There's already patterns like that in China. For example, religion is kind of an issue. If you are super religious, or if you get an interest in some spiritual ideas, you're kind of seen as an enemy to the Communist Party because because your loyalties will be seen as being to this religious or spiritual belief than to the political party. And so there's already that in place. There was this new movement in the 90s that started called Falun Gong or something. It was like this new meditative practice that was like very free of dogma, but the Communist Party or the government, they like cracked down on it, and they said you can't practice this, you can't do this. And it was just like a meditation practice, and it was a method of like living and being like a moral person, and they reacted against it very, very negatively. And so that sort of thing that's the pattern as far as I can tell in China right now.
It seems so drastic and so nightmarish that I'm wondering what I'm missing. Like, I'm sure a lot of thought has gone into it, and so they have to be imagining a future where this is like helpful to the country.
Well, they have this huge plan. Like, they have this framework for how their socialist society is going to mature and grow and like turn into an entirely different society. And like, this is part of their growth plan. Like, as they get more people, as they become more economically successful, like China economically is experiencing enormous growth. And that's part of the problem, is that it's growing too quickly for regulations to keep up with and for law to keep up with in that way.
So that's why they're reacting drastically. Like, that's why there is because this is like a big move.
Yeah, it is. But I think they think it's to scale with how their society is, and it also has precedent in the Western world. For instance, they don't have anything like a credit score, but something like that is absolutely prevalent in the United States, at least. And like, that's like your credit score will determine, whether you can buy a car, whether you can buy a house, any amount of money that you might borrow from someone is from your credit score. And that's just economic, mostly financial information, but this is mostly just an extension of that. It takes your financial information and other information that they can capture with big data.
I think this guy put his headset down.
Yeah.
Toaster.
So, this one thing about this China score system is that if you criticize the government, then your score will go down. I don't think I could trust a government that can't take criticism of its own system.
I mean, for the past 50, 60, 70 years, China has had massive like political revolution and everything. And I know that they're, at least in part, their unwillingness to tolerate political dissent is because they don't want disharmony. They don't want that uprising. They don't want their economy to collapse. They don't want all these bad, consequences that could happen as a result from criticizing the government. And so I know that that's at least in part one of their reasons. But I mean, I personally agree with you. As a Westerner, like, I believe in my right to free speech and to be able to say whatever I want, and freedom of the press. None of that is anything that they have over there. That's just not something that's given to them as a right. So it's an entirely different philosophy, and there's definitely conflict there for sure.
Like you said, like there was a backlash, but there wasn't really too much of a backlash for it to be effective. So were like a majority of the Chinese really okay with this idea?
And I couldn't even find a lot of information about what the backlash was, or how they expressed it, or how many people were involved.
It's probably really hard to get an accurate account. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that wasn't readily available. I did read a quote from some reporter in China somewhere that said, the government shouldn't be rating the citizens should be rating the leaders of the government, and that he was frustrated that that wasn't happening. I saw that one quote, and I couldn't find any other information about it. So maybe I just didn't.
Vanished.
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly how big the backlash was. I did read a couple articles that claimed that the majority of the people in China are excited about this idea and they want to implement it. But again, without freedom of the press, I don't know how much I can believe.
I mean, you can go from like a lower class and have a great credit rating or a citizen score and get up to middle class, even the high class tier from like nothing. So, I mean, I could see how a lot of lower class citizens would think this is the best idea because they could go from being way down here to, all the way up here because they've been doing the right thing their entire life, or, they give their kids that right mindset. So
if you make it to the top, what's really keeping you from not altering your data or say your family's data to help maybe get your family's business off the ground faster or shut down a rival before they can maybe reach close to your ranks?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Did you find anything like that about the security of the system? Like, are there any ideas about how to not let it get out of control and people get their hands in there and change stuff?
There's honestly just not enough information about what the exact implementation is going to be like. There's really general terms like we're going to take information from your political communications, and we're going to take information from your taxes and like everything like that. But they haven't said exactly how they're going to do it or how they're going to calculate it. That information is just not available at this point.
There's all these systems that in theory would work really well, and then they get gamed, right? Like Reddit is something where it's like Reddit in theory should work really well to let certain types of things rise to the top. But there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and like people have found ways to sort of game the system and, do what they want to do and bring their ideas to the top. And it seems to be less equal than I would have expected it to be, right? And so when you're going to bring that system into like, the entire country, it's like people are going to be finding ways to take advantage of it. Like, how can you construct a perfect system that no one is going to find a flaw? That seems so unlikely.
It does seem very unlikely, especially in a country of 1.3 billion people. That's huge. That's just like, a few of them are going to find a way to. A
couple hundred million of them are going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say is Ghoster actually brought up a really good point, which is we have this in the U.S. especially. We have this phenomenon that people talk about where a lot of people consider themselves temporarily embarrassed billionaires. And it's a phenomenon where a lot of people who are not necessarily very well off will still, when given the chance, vote for say lower taxes on those who are wealthy or support policies that support the wealthy because they see themselves as, I'm going to get that break or I'm going to win the lottery or something. I'm going to be wealthy one day and I don't want to screw it up for myself. And so they end up, in many cases, working against their best interests. And it sounds to me with this system, that could be one of the appeals that they're using is that as Ghoster said, if you are, coming, let's say, a small village in China, you feel like you don't have a lot of opportunities, you may feel like this system is great because I can become a better citizen, and you don't realize that you're going to get lower grades because your school isn't as good, and you're going to get a lower score because you don't have as many business opportunities because you're poor, and you're not going to be in the circles with the really successful citizens, the people with the high scores, because you haven't reached that yet. So they may be counting on the fact that a lot of people who are not well off will be in favor of it because, again, it's the temporarily embarrassed billionaire idea where they're like, oh, one day I will be one of those really respected citizens. And they won't. So
those are some really
that makes
good
a lot
thoughts.
of sense to
Thank
me.
you. Yeah.
It's very promising from a certain perspective, right? Yeah, thank you.
If you are an evil alien, for instance, it would be a great idea. not that I am an alien.
I had a different perspective on this whole thing. I think we're forgetting about the power of the individual, and we're merging the idea of community and global community with like the individual. And what that really means is like once the power is disseminated from the higher ups, and we have our own power device, right? What we need is an individual power device, like an IPD, where we can power our own system. The system is going to fall, and we're all going to have our own system. And what we're doing is we're transcending into that, because every system we've talked about isn't going to work, because there are open source factions that share their interests as soon as they create them. For instance, when I invent something, I immediately send it to researchers and scientists. I don't try to make money on it. So what do you have to say about the lone person who isn't trying to make the money, who's only trying to invent and giving it out for free? Because that will change everything. You know what I mean?
I love that ideal.
I've thought about that before, and like I kind of believe it. Like just in our own way, we're forming this new community here, right? There's like these new types of communities that are not about being landlocked or like geographically in a certain space. But it's hard for me to understand how the transition happens. Like, how do we actually cross that threshold where the country doesn't matter anymore? Like, it's hard for me to see that.
That the AI would be our best guess is what we call the singularity, and you know, they're going to try to like use the AI and like sell it, and even sell the virtual reality dream as like the perfect utopia. Here, like, download yourself. They're going to sell this to everybody. You know what I mean? It might not be virtual. It might be like holograms or like a more of an augmented overlay system, where the AI, you know, does everything for you. But there's going to be always a group of people that don't want to do it. You know, because there's always the ones who have and the ones who don't have, and because of that, it's not even that. It's really the ones who can love and the ones who can't. The ones who are jealous of the ones who have. You know. And like, you're always going to have that battle. It's a perpetual, everlasting battle. So like, the government is taking the role of like, you know, the dark side pretty much. You know, like at first it was a good thing, but like, I'm not trying to start anarchy, but if the more you see what's going on, like, you're going to, you know what I mean? It's like, there is no right governmental system. It's only an individual system we can have based on truth and compassion and honesty. I'm talking like a long time in the future, but the concepts have to be thought in a macro level, because if you're, you know, I don't know.
This
I
guy
don't
gets
see
it. At some point we have to return to this, because it is like that transition, I think is a full conversation topic. And I don't think it's terribly far away, right? Because I think we currently live in a world where we have this new technology and new tools where we could change all of society for the better, but there is an old system in place that has a fucking stranglehold on us, and it's not going to let go. Like, overcoming that stranglehold, if it's a war, that's devastating. It'll be like the most devastating thing ever. And so I'm kind of hoping, and we have to talk about this, I don't know enough about it, that there's some other way of overcoming that transition. It's going to be, I know it's really scary, and I'm just hoping that there's some, I don't know, I'm worried about it, but I feel like it could be positive in some way.
The Buddhist religion was only guys who really had a good perspective, is just through compassion and love. But then, you know, there's always going to be somebody who's going to hate the person who can love. So that's your fundamental battle, right?
We're going to talk after the show, because this is something I'm going to return to. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts, Jim.
I feel like everything he was saying ties in the fact that like the citizen score sort of represents like a dystopian future to me, right? Like, that's one way things might go. And like, when that hangs over our head is when people have to react. And so like, we're going to see this thing actually happen in China over the next couple of years. I'm super curious what's going to happen, because it's hard to imagine. What if it just works out and everything's fine? Like, is that a possibility?
I think it is a possibility. I don't know how likely that is. For all the reasons we were talking about earlier, the technical challenges, the chances of gaming the system, I can't feel like it's likely, but anything's possible. So I am at the very least curious to see it implemented, and to see the world respond to it, and to see China respond to it, and see how their economy goes, and I don't know what else.
So here's what's going to happen. These three people all claim to be human beings, but we're going to run a quick test. So all three of you got to check your Slack channel now and see what Poplopo is typing to you. Because two of you, she will confirm that you're human, but the third one is going to get a link to a chatbot. And you're going to have to use that chatbot for all your responses for the next part of the game. And so we're going to have someone else come up to ask a question. The two people that are humans, you have to type your responses into the Slack channel. And the third person, you type the question into the chatbot and read that response.
What type of questions can we ask? What type of questions?
Let's find out. Why don't you be the first investigator? Let's actually bring two people up, so there's like a bit of a contest here.
You go first. You go first.
Oh, there we go.
All right, so let's get the first question from Clem.
All right. Well, I've been need to learn anyways. How would I go about uploading a new avatar to the server?
Oh fuck! The chatbot's not going to know that.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
Find out real quick.
I don't trust robots. All right.
That's not going to work out.
Why don't we start with you then, Ghoster, if you're ready? What's your response?
Almost 1 second.
Oh my god, it takes you guys like a half an hour to type in simple messages. The response is like one sentence. That's why I don't
that's
ask
the
for help in
point.
the community. It takes forever.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm very like. All right, are you ready, Ghoster?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. Open the VRchat tab. Log in. Select avatar. Build and upload.
Okay, who knows? Maybe that's something the chatbot knew.
Yeah,
Muse?
That would be cool.
Damn.
It
Don't
would
give it away.
probably
Sounds like
take
the
a
VR
long
chatbot
time
to me.
to explain.
Boom.
Okay, that one's a little bit. I don't know.
That's the chatbot right
That's
there.
the chatbot.
Zircon.
This is lazy.
You get the model online as an FBX file.
Yeah.
And you download the SKB, and then follow this online guide. Because I'm not typing all of this out.
This is the guy. This is the guy
All right,
I want
well,
investigating all of
so
our
here's
AI
how we're
problems
gonna.
right here.
So I'm going to put my hand over one of the contestants, and in your emojis, do the exclamation point when I'm pointing at the person you think is a chatbot. Who thinks that Zircon is the chatbot? I don't. No one. What about Ghoster? No. What about McMuse? Oh, was that one for Ghoster? Oh no.
I saw 3.
I think
I saw 3.
I didn't give you.
Are you a human?
Sorry, man.
I am not a human.
Okay, so we're going to use the same people, but possibly someone different is going to be the chatbot. Possibly
Ask like a
the same
subjective
person.
question.
Yeah.
And yeah, ask a subjective question. Something
Yeah, you're gaming the system already. All right.
Are you a robot?
Okay, simple responses. No, wait, one question at a time, please. One question.
Are you a robot?
Are you a robot? Let's give them a. Can someone give us a little music?
I was gonna
Are you a robot, McMuse?
I absolutely am a robot, one of which was created by electrical impulses and ones and zeros, but I can talk, so what do you think?
Okay. Who knows?
Robot with attitude.
Ghoster?
Stop asking my questions back to me. I asked you if you were a robot.
What?
Okay. Zircon, are you a robot?
I certainly am. I'm an electronic brain that can respond like a human, but more efficiently.
Oh, shit. Okay. I'm not as hard, actually. Okay. Too awesomer. You should be the one to make the choice. Who do you think is the chatbot?
Who will be your lucky bachelor?
Dinner for two.
Remember, if you get it wrong,
Is
your
this a multiple
citizens
choice
program
question?
Yes, there's 3 choices.
Hard answer question.
I choose you, Ghoster.
Ooh.
Ghoster. What are you?
I am a human.
Okay, just a tricksy human. Humans are, I guess, humans can lie. That's one of the things that we can do.
Okay, that's what we learned tonight. Yeah.
What are you?
Zircon?
I am a robot.
All right.
Okay.
Zircon was the robot. Had everybody fooled.
And you said you were lying too?
Not everybody.
No, I
That's
said
cool.
I am a being who functions on
pretty
electrical
cool.
impulses and ones and
Oh,
zeros, but I can
shit.
talk.
That's true.
Damn, you are a fool.
You're a clever human.
Ooh.
All right, Duck,
It happened to me
get creative.
My question is, where did you come from?
Where'd you go? Where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
That's a good one.
Let's all sing at once with a slight delay that makes it terrible.
All right, that's time. Charlie, you're first.
I am an import from England.
Okay. Wow.
An import from.
I am from Leeds, Yorkshire, England.
Okay. And Zarni.
Cannot connect to service. Please try again later.
Okay.
Let's solve this case.
Let's do another question.
All right, let's do the second question really quick. Goblox. Go for it.
Okay. Since the time you were first created, have you ever cried one tear?
Oh my God.
That's
Have you ever cried?
This
is the only song we know.
You should start a choir. VRchat choir.
We'll try that on the next one. All right, are all the contestants ready?
Silence.
Yes. All right, Charlie.
Ow, ears. That was good.
Have you ever cried a single tear?
I hurt.
I weep for humanity every day.
Wow.
Interesting reason. I was?
Okay. It's Zarni.
I have cried many times.
This is so sad.
Oh my! I think I'm changing my vote after that.
About
Okay.
crying.
And they were the robot for both
Answer.
rounds, right? I mean, it didn't switch or
Yes.
something. Right?
So,
Okay.
so the same person was the robot both times. Before the audience votes, I want to hear you guys vote. Duck, who's the robot?
I have no idea. But I'm
There's no
gonna go with
prizes. There's no stakes. Just do it.
I like steak, but okay. I think it's Zarni.
All right, that's one for
Zarni,
Zarni.
okay.
Goblox.
I'm going with Lau. I think it's got to be Lau.
All
I hope
right.
it's Charlie. Wow, what are
What do you
you?
say, Lau? Are you
I am
human?
indeed a chatbot.
Okay.
That was obvious. That was
Wait, what was your
obvious.
first response?
The first response was, I am from Leeds, Yorkshire. Let me read it.
Jesus, that was the chatbot.
Sounding to me
Yeah,
at
the
times. I was
chatbot
like,
said
I just said I was from England, and
I
then
know. The chatbot said, I am from Leeds, Yorkshire, England, or something like that.
It's funny because
So I
if
was like, all
we'd
right.
have got on the first question, I think everybody
definitely
would have
not a
voted
bot.
for Zarni Whoop like right
Wait,
away.
We forgot
I
about
would have
I
voted
think
for
so.
Zarni
He
Whoop.
cries all the time. I'm so sorry.
But I'm glad you're with us and you're human, Zarni. Wait, who won that?
Got a book by its cover.
What do you mean who won?
We're nominating Zircron. Zircron, can you step up and ask them a question?
So, what do you get if you divide 1 by 0?
So let's go from left to right. So we'll start with Mr. Pill. What do you get when you divide 1 by 0?
Bebop, bebop, boop. 1 divided by 0 is an undefined solution. Period.
Okay.
That was funny.
Tom.
Is this a joke? I don't know. What do you get?
Ethan.
An undefined number.
Oh man, that's tough.
I'm pretty sure I have an idea.
I'm saying it right now, it's Tom, because Ethan probably looked it up on Google,
Yeah.
and VRPL is just like having some fun with us.
Yeah, I agree with Tom.
Counts as a chatbot.
Who said robots can't have fun too? Bebop.
I think I was going to be a character.
What if you ask it,
I
do
don't
you
know.
believe in God?
Could be a double blind. It could be the guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
My second question was, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me.
We could ask, what is love? Do you believe in God? Or I like, what is good in life? Any of
What
those?
is
I
good
like
in
what is
life?
good in life.
Yeah,
What is good in life? Yeah.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Bots
What
and
is hell?
humans, what is good in life?
Yeah.
I'm good.
You ready, Mr.
Yeah.
Pill?
Yeah.
Okay, they're ready.
All
What was the
right.
question again?
What is good in life, Mr. Pill?
Bebop boop beep. Life on Earth began 3.8 billion years ago. Period. Bebop boop beep beep.
What?
Okay.
All right.
What is good in life, Tom?
The opposite of bad in life.
What is good in life, Ethan?
Wait.
Having friends and chatting with them.
All right, so I think the
Right?
consensus is on Tom, right? So we should.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. Who are you?
This is robotic profiling. I am a robot. Damn you all.
I'm so
bad at this.
I knew it.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Yeah,
That was
thank you.
exciting. I mean, at one point we'll all be chatbots, so that's the future we have to look forward to. Can anyone have that nugget to close this up before Lau pulls the trigger?
I don't think you can simply, determine a person, an individual, by a number. Like, you're this good by a numerical value. These kind of fluctuate.
Wait, are you saying that we shouldn't be rating each other? You have a philosophical problem with that?
I'm just saying that I think it's. I
Your
don't have
citizen score's
any
going down right now.
other solution
Criticize
for
her.
it.
Yeah.
Are you on
But
Tinder?
I don't think it's right.
As you're saying this.
Well, you know what, Ernie?
That's not cool, man.
I'm giving you 5 stars.
You guys
Now
can
get up here. Let's do a group picture.
I'm on Tinder.
All right.
If anyone wants to look me up.
Oh.
I got some plugs. Look me up on Tinder.
All right. Just pose like a robot. Be a robot.
Hello, I'll do the Thriller.
Tom, are you away from keyboard?
Imitate me. Imitate
Tom,
me.
get over here, goddammit.
Do it for my pleasure. Do it for my pleasure.
Do the robot. Do the robot.
Find this
Do the
insulting
robot.
to my operating system and those who manufactured me.
As I look about me, I see it's a revolution that you see. There's changes you want to see, and danger is at your feet. And he said,